I found out my family had erased me the same way strangers learn gossip through a photo I was never meant to see. There they were, smiling beneath the string lights, hands raised in a perfect toast. And there, right where I should have been standing, was nothing. Just a gap. A blank space where someone had carefully cropped me out, like I'd never existed at all. It wasn't sudden. The silence had been building for years, growing like frost between us. Every unanswered call, every avoided glance, every polite maybe next time. Until one day I wasn't invited anymore. Not to birthdays, not to holidays, not even to the family I was born into. I used to think patience could fix anything, if you just waited long enough. I don't believe that anymore. So when the invitation finally came, unsigned, unaddressed, more obligation than welcome, I didn't hesitate. I folded it once, set it beside my keys, and whispered to myself, "This time they'll see me. They just don't know how different that's going to look." The screen on my desk lit up just as the sun began to rise over DC. I wasn't looking for anything, just another scroll through noise, but the photo found me anyway. A vineyard, sunlight caught in champagne flutes, my parents' faces split into practice smiles, and right between them, where I used to stand, was air. They hadn't just moved on, they'd edited me out 6 years earlier. I'd walked away from everything after Afghanistan. They said I made the wrong call, that I cost lives. The investigation ended, the verdict stuck, and the world needed someone to blame. So I packed what was left of myself and disappeared into a government cubicle, where no one saluted and no one stared. It was easier to fade than to fight. Now here it was again, my family smiling for the world while pretending I didn't exist. My father had reposted the photo with a caption about honor and legacy. The same man who once told me, "A Bennett never hides from consequence." 3 days later, an envelope landed on my desk, thick, cream-colored, addressed not to me but to the Bennett family. Inside, a single card, a date, a location, and a line at the bottom. Formal attire, preferably beige or gray. I almost tossed it. Then my phone vibrated. A secure alert blinked across the screen. A voice from a life I'd buried. "The venue is on our watch list. Don't ask why, just be there." I stared at the uniform folded in my closet, untouched for years. My hands didn't tremble when I reached for it. Some silences don't end. They have to be broken. The road back to Montana felt endless, an old scar reopening with every mile. Wind pushed across the plains, cold enough to sting through the glass. When I finally pulled into the driveway, the house looked exactly as I'd left it, porch lights still flickering, paint still chipped. But the warmth that once lived there had long been emptied out. My mother opened the door, Elaine Bennett, small and careful, like someone who'd spent a lifetime avoiding sudden movements. She studied me for a heartbeat before whispering that I looked better than she expected. My father didn't bother standing. He just lowered his newspaper long enough to say he was surprised I had the nerve to come back. I didn't answer. We'd both already said too much, years ago. Dinner was silent, the kind that chews through you more than the food. Marissa barely looked up from her phone. Every gesture rehearsed, polite, mechanical. When I asked if she was ready for the wedding, she smiled without showing teeth. "Everything's taken care of," she said. "He's handling it." Then she excused herself before I could ask who he was. Later that night, as I slipped on my coat to leave, my mother appeared in the hallway, holding a small silver box, the kind you'd expect to hold jewelry, but when I opened it, there was only a folded note inside. 3 lines. "Someone is watching Marissa. Don't let history repeat." I looked up, but she was already turning away, her face pale under the kitchen light. She said quietly that some things couldn't be spoken in that house. I wanted to ask what she meant by history, but I already knew. It was the same word people had whispered 6 years ago, the one that had buried my name. When I drove off, the house lights were still glowing behind me, steady as ever, Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something inside that place had a floorboard shifted, like a storm gathering under the floorboards. The next morning, I sat in a corner booth of a cafe in Helena, laptop open, hands wrapped around a mug that had long gone cold. I typed the name of the wedding venue into a classified search portal, Harbor Light Estate, Maine. Within seconds, the results made my stomach tighten. The estate was one of 3 flagged sites under defense investigation, suspected for covert data transmissions to foreign channels. I sent the coordinates to Elias. His reply came fast. Confirmed. We traced a Crown Meridian satellite relay near that estate. Someone's using civilian events as cover for data transfers. Crown Meridian. The name alone was enough to freeze my blood. They were the same contractors who had worked on AresNet, the military AI project I once led before it all went up in smoke. The project had been shut down, declared a failure, and I had been the failure they pinned it on. I pulled the wedding invitation from my bag, reading it again, down in the corner, so small it could have been missed. Italic letters shimmered faintly, supported by Crown Meridian. I called Elias. My voice barely rose above a whisper. Why her? Why my sister? He paused before answering. Not her, you. They want to make sure you never clear your name, and if they bury this data, they bury you for good. I ended the call, sat there for a long time. The wind outside dragged through the trees, rattling the cafe windows. I caught my reflection in the glass, harder now, older, stripped of whatever softness used to live in my eyes. That was the moment I stopped wondering if I should go to the wedding. It wasn't an invitation anymore. It was a summon to the last battlefield I had left. The Maine sky was a dull blur of mist when I reached Harbor Light Estate. Through the fog, the gilded sign read, "The Bennett Caldwell Wedding," and beneath it, in smaller print, "Sponsored by Crown Meridian," a company name I thought I'd buried with my past, now engraved under my family's celebration. I slipped into the crowd in a gray dress, the color of someone trying not to exist. The woman at the check-in table asked for my name without looking up. When I told her, her hands froze above the tablet. She tried again and then offered a tight, rehearsed smile. My name wasn't there. She led me to the overflow seating by the service door, far from the cameras, close enough to hear the hum of the generators. I wasn't forgotten. I was erased deliberately. From my corner, I watched the chandeliers shimmer, the laughter echo, the illusion of happiness looping endlessly. Near the back, 2 men in dark suits hovered over the soundboard, badges glinting with the logo I dreaded, Crown Meridian. I lifted my phone, pretending to take a picture. Through the zoom, I caught one of them inserting a silver USB. A line appeared on the mixer screen. AresNet audio channel connected. They were transmitting data, not music. I rose to move closer, but my mother blocked my path. Her eyes were a warning wrapped in fear. She whispered for me not to ruin this. I asked whether she wanted truth more than peace. She turned away. That was her answer, and our family's curse. I left her there and climbed the stairs to the bridal suite. The scent of lavender hit before I even knocked. Marissa stood before the mirror, veil catching the light. She saw me and stiffened, the warmth gone in an instant. I pointed at the silver necklace around her neck. The pendant gleamed with a faint, steady pulse. My watch caught the signal. Mil Sig 4531 AresNet. My chest tightened. That was my code. Who gave it to you? I asked quietly. Matt. He said it tracks my heartbeat. Tracks more than that, I thought. Crown Meridian had hidden their transmitter on the bride herself. You're sending live data to a stolen defense network, I told her. She laughed, brittle, shaking her head. Then anger replaced confusion. Stop this, Nova. Not today. This isn't about you. Her voice cracked on the last word, but she didn't take off the necklace. I didn't argue. Some truths only surface through consequence. When I stepped out into the hall, my phone buzzed. A message from Elias. They're not transferring data, they're rewriting it. The file is yours. I stopped breathing. They weren't just stealing information, they were erasing the last proof that I'd ever been innocent. I clutched the silver box in my coat pocket, its edges cutting into my hand. If I didn't act now, they'd finish what they started 6 years ago. And this time, no one